Riveting content. Empowering your life. Welcome to The Sphere. This episode is sponsored by Houston Housewives of Finance. For more information on increasing your cash flow, becoming your own money manager, and to schedule your complimentary personal finance strategy, contact the Houston Housewives of Finance today at 1-844-700-4463. Looking to advertise? Join the Sphere's vast demographic reach of thousands of people all over the world. Send an email today to advertise@thesphere.tv or call us at area code 832-772-7789. KOG and Company. Are your unique gifts and talents changing the world? Do you desire to belong to a community of unity? Visit KOGpassion.com to learn more about the Unleash Your Dopeness movement.
Good evening, good evening. This is Dr. Ashandra Batiste, and we're back on the Docs on the Sphere Network, where we're here to educate, inform, and empower you about health and wellness topics. Thanks for joining us again. I, of course, am a dentist, still practicing at 34 and some change weeks. My back is done. However,
you're still a dentist?
I'm actually still a practicing dentist. Like I worked yesterday.
So proud of you.
Thanks. At my dental office, which is Elite Dental Wellness, located at the corner of Fondren and Westheimer. You can find me at www.houstondentalwellness.com. Or if you would like to just follow us on social media, my Instagram is at hotdoc.com, and Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, etc. is Ashandra Batiste. Thanks for joining us. And I would like to also thank my co-host for actually joining me in the flesh today. What up? What up?
Hey guys, I'm so excited. Actually, this is by accident that I am here, but I'm so glad.
Ooh, my skin is on.
She's glowing. She's glowing and showing. So, of course, I'm Dr. Simone Ellis. And, of course, you can find me on Facebook as Simone Ellis or on Instagram at Dr. Simone Ellis. And my office, Smile Design Studios, Family and Cosmetic Dentistry. We're on 6130 Highway 6 in Missouri City, Texas. Of course, please feel free to check out our website at www.sdshouston.com. You won't be disappointed. But we're talking about teeth. But I'd like to introduce our co-host for the day, Dr. Tuere, which is such a beautiful name. You're going to tell me why. Coulter. Yeah, so hi, Dr. Coulter. How are you?
Hi, Dr. Coulter.
Thanks for having me.
We're excited to have you. Tell us a little bit about you and where we can find you. And so people, if they were trying to have a baby or need to make sure that they're okay, they can find you.
I'm Dr. Tuere Coulter. I am a family medicine physician at UTMB, which is University of Texas Medical Branch. I work in Galveston, but I also
wait
have
a minute. Hold
clinic.
on. I don't want to interrupt.
Okay.
You may know my husband,
Who's your husband?
Richard Cumby. He was Medtronic rep.
Oh.
So he's in the OR. Do you do surgeries down
I
there?
do, but just C-section. So most of the
he's not C-section.
yeah.
He's only doing
robotics and stuff.
He
Yeah.
sells ligature.
Okay, yeah. I won't meet him.
No, you'll never meet him.
I'm on a different floor, third floor. That's it.
I'll tell him to come.
All the black people
Yes.
don't know each other at the hospital in Galveston.
Well,
I'm just saying.
figured.
It's like they all don't know each other.
I figured. What?
You guys should have a group meeting or something.
Yeah.
You usually recognize faces, but if we're never in the same space.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do see you guys at church if I come to the 8 a.m. service.
Oh.
Oh, that's so cute. Look at the Cumby family coming through. I love
For
it.
the Lord.
So again, where
Sorry,
can
I
we find?
Sorry, my bad.
I am at University of Texas Medical Branch in Galveston, but I also have a clinic that I work in Dickinson, Texas. So you can come to either clinic to find me. And then I also have my social media, so you can follow me at Dr. 2 Health Tips, and that's both on Facebook and Instagram. Haven't got to the Periscope, Snapchat, anything like that yet. So hopefully I'll be doing it.
I feel like it's so much. It's so much.
So you're out in Galveston.
Out in Galveston.
And or the Galveston Galveston area, so South Houston, pretty
Yes.
much Dickinson, Galveston, like
Yes.
those areas.
Where'd you go to?
Where'd you go to school?
Yeah.
So I went to undergrad at Tennessee State University.
You wanna give a
So
shout
go
out?
TSU
wow.
Tiger. Homecoming was just this past weekend, and it was lit. I did not
you
want to
go?
come back. Yes, I
Okay,
did.
okay,
Yes,
all right.
I
What day
did.
did you come back on? Sunday or Monday? Rolled in the
So-
office like I just got off a plane. Let me get my life together.
Yeah. I realized I'm older now,
I
so
know, you
I had to
cannot
take a day
do-
off.
you
yeah,
cannot do
couldn't
the
hang.
same thing. Well,
Couldn't hang.
I mean, literally, I'll go
I don't
party
know what you're talking
from
about.
Xavier, which I'm excited to see you guys in November. But I literally will go Thursday hard, Friday
Yeah.
hard, Saturday. I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it Sunday. I'm like, nah, we not doing like I can't even do a brunch. It's that how old I
Yeah.
am.
Well-
but Ashandra, I think she still turns up even in her pregnancy because I can see her out in pictures. I'm like, how you got this much energy? Meanwhile, I'm over here like snacks. And
First off, don't let IG fool you. Okay, they're all lies.
social media life is not your real life.
It's a lie, okay? in every picture, I'm praying through that smile. I'm praying through them heels.
She be at concerts. I'm like, is she pregnant? Meanwhile, I'm over here like,
Oh, but
look,
No, you got
getting
one
it.
life. You
I
got to
was-
get it.
Yeah, this baby number 3 too. You can't. You
she
can't
can come
let
out
baby-
real ratchet like,
Uh,
Mama was at the
yes.
club when I was
Millie
little.
Wild.
Right?
I'm trying to go to 444. That's what I'm trying to do.
Aren't you do
get
the
her
same
some-
day?
Like around there.
Well,
I'm trying to be.
I'm so glad that
I'm trying to make
you're
her
here
very-
today because we're going to be talking about what you don't need to be doing in pregnancy, and that's probably one of the
I don't
things.
see how me
Jay-Z
not going to a
concert.
Jay-Z concert falls into line of what I can't do while I'm
Doc, I
pregnant.
don't know if that's cleared. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm kind of with her. You do what you can tolerate.
If she breaks that water, if you come to that concert and I see you running on, breaking that water,
That's all
I'm
right.
cracking jokes all
At least
day.
I was there.
You were there. You should name
And
her
Auntie
then.
Beyonce might be there with you.
right,
So,
exactly.
I guess for a hot topic today, we want to talk a little bit about.
Oh, but
well,
wait, I'm sorry.
what?
We got that you went to Tennessee State. Where'd you go to med school?
Med school. So I went to University of Tennessee in Memphis for med school.
Okay.
So how'd you end up here in Texas?
Ooh, long story.
Okay.
Residency was at JPS in Fort Worth. And then I had a really close friend who I did residency with, and we had these big plans that we were going to open up our own practice.
Okay.
We're going to work for 5 years, so I am on year number 5. I need to start planning that. And then we were going to open up a practice together, but I told her I could not do Fort Worth, so we kind of came together in Houston.
Okay.
Except she's still in Fort Worth, and I'm in
wow.
Houston, so I'm here.
Okay.
And we kind of got to figure out how to work
You
this
guys could
thing
do
out.
satellite practices. You can have the same brand and
We
name,
could.
but you guys could have it in different locations.
Yeah, we could. We're still working on it.
Black entrepreneurship.
I'm telling you.
Don't we know it? So let's talk a little bit about the hot topic today. So I don't hate them or not, but I clearly see from the faces is not a fan. So of course, all the Kardashians, I think, except for Kendall, the model one, and Caitlyn, because she can't have babies, are
But she's not
pregnant.
a Kardashian.
Oh, she's a Jenner. Sorry. So then I guess then we need to say then all of the Kardashian women plus one Jenner are
Yes.
having babies at the same time.
Yes.
So that's
Okay.
allegedly they just came out and said that what's the other girl, the little one that don't really mess with black dudes, but now she with a black dude.
Kendall?
No.
Kylie?
Kim,
All of them.
Chloe. What's the sister?
Are you talking about Courtney?
Courtney is supposed to be
Okay.
pregnant too.
Is he black?
He's black. So Courtney, Kylie, Kim, and Chloe are all supposed to be pregnant at this time.
And
So
I'm barfing in my mouth. Maybe
why?
it's acid reflux.
It's the acid reflux. Well, let's talk a little bit about it. I
Make
mean,
it
pregnancy
stop.
is
No,
just
really, make it
becoming
stop.
such a really, really popular
Topic.
thing.
Yeah.
A popular topic.
Yeah.
Of course, on top of them being pregnant, and they love them some black men, right?
Yeah,
Like, I'm convinced that even Caitlyn is about to get a black.
Yeah.
I mean, they love it. They love
I mean,
it,
so do
but-
I. So why
I mean,
not?
you support it, right? You get it.
I get it. I get
But
it.
they're all pregnant at the same time.
Uh-huh.
Pretty popular. And so, I mean, I don't know if you've ever experienced all sisters coming in at the same time being pregnant in your office.
No. But you know, the Kardashians are on a different level, and you're dropping all kinds of tea because I didn't even know that all of them were pregnant. I
Wow.
don't keep up with the Kardashians as much, but I do have a lot of family members that will send their sister or their cousin or whatnot to me. So I am meeting a lot of people in the family, but I have not had multiple sisters
All at the
pregnant
same
at the
time.
same
Because usually that
No.
doesn't happen like that. Are you pregnant, but your sister's pregnant too? That's usually not how that happens.
Well, I mean, also in this situation, like these women have had kind of
Difficulties.
clear issues with getting pregnant. So Kim had some issues, I think, with baby 1 and 2. So now they have a surrogate. So
Yeah.
Kim technically isn't pregnant.
Right.
And then Chloe, I don't know if it's because she was with Lamar and like crack and
yeah, they
making babies
they never. Well,
may
crack
not-
crack babies are
may
probably
not
some
work.
problems, but
So that could have been why.
good thing though, right? Because we don't
Possibly.
want the kid to have that.
No.
So who knows like what the cause was, but like regardless, they've been very transparent about kind of, I mean, their lives are looking glasses, which is fine.
Yeah.
That's why they get paid so much money.
Do you feel like the pregnancy has been a stunt? Because I mean, literally all
Yeah.
four of
Yeah.
them are pregnant at
Absolutely.
the same time.
Absolutely. Like
It's like, what else
they
can you
have to
talk
keep-
about?
Right. They
Yeah.
have to keep their storyline going, which is perfectly fine because that's how they make their
That's
money.
their platform.
Absolutely. So, but what I can appreciate is if they were having issues with their infertility, right, or with their fertility, that has been a conversation that women are having more now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I think that even with any type of infertility, as you guys have known, or on the show, I've discussed issues with my own infertility. I think that it's become very popular topics, you know, that people are having in what we call the gen pop, you know, like general population. Even Gabrielle Union just came out and talked about how many miscarriages. I think she said almost up to
9.
Yeah.
9.
And I mean, I think that that's something that I was really impressed with how brave she was, because that had to have been a very difficult
Yeah.
Absolutely.
thing to admit. And probably
Absolutely.
society, they look at her and they're like, why is she not pregnant? You know, she's been with Dwayne Wade. Oh, she's older and blah, blah, blah. And so I was really impressed with her.
Well, you know, I hate that. I hate that for her because I do feel like their relationship went through like a little right.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. I think that it's almost, I'm impressed with how she's been able to handle such difficulties, because
Yeah.
the was he putting his in somebody else's
while they were
and
still-
then they had a
Right,
and they were
right.
still
Right.
so right, I get it. So all the it's like, but she handled that gracefully.
She did.
She
She
did.
did.
I
And
mean-
that's a hard pill to swallow for a woman, because we all, like, when we're younger, we talk about having a family. When we get older, we talk about planning that family, and no woman ever thinks like, I may not be able to carry a pregnancy through, or I may not be able to have kids. But the reality is there's a lot of women who actually are dealing with infertility issues. It's just that we're starting to talk about it more.
Do you feel like it's being talked about more because celebrities, as they always do, bring things up to the forefront, and then now people feel like, oh, it's not so taboo not to talk about it anymore?
Well, I think that could play a role in it, but also I think just in general, us women are going into the workforce and we're putting our career, like our generation, we're kind of putting our career first. So now we're waiting to have babies. And before, our parents, they didn't wait to have babies. You know,
Right.
most of our parents had babies when they were in their teens or 20s, you know, and if you waited till 30, that was too old.
Right,
But
right.
now in 30, you're kind of settled in your career. You kind of feel
Yeah.
like, now I'm ready to have this family because now I'm stable. So I'm looking
Yeah.
for the stable man. I'm looking for the family. But once you hit 35, your risks start to go up, definitely. You know,
sure.
as far as fertility issues and things like that. So I think a lot of women are dealing with it. I mean, even for myself, when I turned 35, I said, well, I need to freeze my eggs. And I went into the doctor. I mean, I do this all the time, right? I talk to women about nutrition. I feel like I'm healthy. And so I went and I was just like, oh yeah, we'll do a consultation. We'll go, I'll freeze my eggs and I'll move forward. And that wasn't really the case.
Right.
So when I went in, he did all my levels, checked my blood, did hormone levels, and the level was actually lower than we expect for somebody my age. And I'm like, what's wrong? I don't have any thyroid issues. I don't have diabetes, high blood pressure. But it took me 2 cycles to be able to even get to the point where I could freeze eggs.
So you like
know?
froze 2 cars, basically.
What?
What? I know. So
And for most people, you can't even afford to do that.
Oh,
you know?
So Marsha on Facebook Live is making some amazing points. So Marsha, we're gonna get back to that. Just hold on. Let's get through this ad real quick.
Okay, so in this portion of the show is sponsored by the Houston Housewives of Finance. Did you know that only 4 states in the United States offer financial education? 33% or more than 77 million of Americans don't pay their bills on time, and 39% of Americans carry credit card debt from month to month. And 39% of adults say that they do not have enough savings. Do not become one of these statistics. Let the Houston Housewives of Finance advise you on increasing your cash flow yourself and becoming your own money manager by scheduling your complimentary personal financial strategy today. Contact the Houston Housewives of Finance at 1-844-700-4463 or email us at info@houstonhousewivesoffinance.com. Ask us how you can participate in a complimentary financial literacy workshop near you. Houston Housewives of Finance are the new face of the new age of financial services. So guys, make sure you get your money up because we got to get these eggs frozen.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about
that's
it.
That's a whole nother piece, right? So like you have Marsha saying on Facebook Live, she's saying that professional women are, getting pregnant later versus earlier. And by the time professional women are ready, and I say ready, because I really think it's hard to ever really be ready to have a baby. And I've had 3 and I'm never really ready. Or I'm having 3 and I'm never really ready. But by the time you think you're ready, like you have like your career in the place you want, you have the man that you want, you're kind of this, they're saying, your eggs, like you were just saying, Marsha's like, they're not worth a damn because it's you're older and they're harder to retrieve. It becomes an issue. And that she feels like these celebrities are using donor eggs, like per in vitro doctor.
Well, there's a lot of options when you think about getting pregnant, and I think the biggest thing is to go and speak with your physician about your options. So there are some women who, I had a coworker who went to go freeze hers at 40. And she had way more than I had. And she was 5 years older than me.
Wow.
Didn't have medical conditions either. But for some reason, my count was lower than hers. Can't explain it, but I wouldn't just say that your eggs aren't worth anything. Go and get.
Well, I
checked,
think she
basically.
means that like at that age, unfortunately, like you said, you might not get a chance to do 1 or 2 cycles because you don't have anything
don't
to
have as
do.
many.
You don't
Yeah.
have any.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's
Yeah.
what she's saying is more of like the ovaries are shot
Yeah.
to. I mean, and that's unfortunate
Yeah.
because I do think that as women now, we want to be able to choose like both.
Yeah.
We want both.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to have to sacrifice my career and the family. And it's so funny. I was listening to a podcast. And Ariana.
Was it on the Sphere?
It wasn't, but I do listen to the Sphere podcast. And so, guys, check it out, of course. But it was Ariana Huffing of Huffington Post.
Okay.
And she was talking about that, how, with women, we really have to choose. I mean, of course, she's on this huge platform. She's a multimillionaire who has done really, really well in journalism. And she was talking about how it's very difficult as a woman and a professional woman. And of course, I think we can attribute to that. Like, Chandra's got those nice little babies over there. But
I do. And I think
you probably have a lot of friends that.
Well, and I think that that's a slight misconception in having to choose. I think that in many of our situations we have we don't have a model in front of us. Like our mothers did not do what we do, whether maybe they were professional, but they had like an 8 to 5 where they clocked in and they clocked out. They were still professional. Or maybe our moms weren't professional. Maybe they didn't go to college, all these other things. So I think that the model is not really set for us. And so we say that we have to choose. And I don't really think you have to choose. I think we make a choice and we say, I still want to be able to take a 6-month maternity leave. I still want to be able to do some of these other things that are not really possible in like my career at this moment, right?
Well, I mean, because you're an entrepreneur.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. And so I think that I think unfortunately for a lot of women, we sit around and say, we're making a choice. Professional women are choosing to have babies later, but I think for many reasons, I got married. I'm on my last husband, so I've been married twice. Amen.
Amen.
My last husband. Okay.
The husband.
Because if I say second, there could be a third. So he's my last husband.
He's the God ordained husband.
Right.
I like it.
First one was child. Yeah. So, but my point is, I got married right after college. I went to dental school. Like nothing slowed me down from having babies, and it was not like, oh my God, I have to finish dental school. It was like, no, we can figure this out.
But I think you make a good point because you were going through that and thought about those things. But I think for a lot of women, you just kind of are going through like, I went to school, what's the next step? I go to professional school, what's the next step? I get me a good job, and now I'm ready. And I think what I would say to even younger women out there, because if I could go back and talk to my 20-year-old self,
Right.
what I would say is think about those things now, because I wasn't thinking about like the family. I just thought that was going to come, right?
Or who told you to think about those
Right.
things?
Nobody
right?
did, right? My family was like, focus on your career,
Focus
on
on career.
school. You know, you can think about that stuff later because later was going to come. And then one day we look up and we're like,
Later is here.
Later is here.
Well, and I think part of the problem with that is what people automatically assume, and even my dad, when I got pregnant with Avery, was very like, had assumed that I was ready to drop out of dental school.
Oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And I don't know if that's a thing that is stigmatized to women, because I felt the same thing. Like my dad, when I got married, he was like, oh, well, now you're not going to finish this school. And I was like, just because I decided to get a husband didn't mean that my career goals and ambitions stopped.
Exactly.
And I do want to highlight real quick that Clinton Myers, thank you for making a comment. She said, can we speak on the increase of fibroids in women, especially women of color, and how that is affecting pregnancy? And I definitely hope that we can speak on that. But the way that you're going to find out about that information.
Look at you.
Do you see that segue? Is come on over and subscribe to the Docs, of course, podcast. So Facebook Live, guys, we are asking you guys to subscribe to all our shows on our major platform, including iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Stitcher. We want you to review the show. Tell us about how we're doing, what information that you want us to get out. We want to come up with topics that you guys want to hear about, so please do not hesitate but to make some comments so we can find out more about those information and give that information to you. And, of course, share this on Facebook Live. Post with the entire show with your friends and family. You guys, we're doing something different over here. You probably haven't seen faces like ours doing a podcast. And so we want to make sure that you guys get our information out, because we are setting the trend and the tone, and we want you guys to be a part of the revolution.
Speaking
I mean,
of
I'm just
faces,
saying.
I just want to give a shout out to my
Your glow
esthetician
okay.
today
And while she's doing that, we want you to donate to our mission.
For this glow that I have.
Feed a baby. Give her some shit. It's definitely not her.
It's definitely not her.
And guys, of course, I'm not messing with her. Donate to our mission and bring
esthetician.
rich, inspiring content each and every week. You can donate, of course, at www.thesphere.tv/donate. And so while we're giving a shout out to my colleague and co-host, beautiful Glow, you do look gorgeous.
I'm telling you, I got a facial this morning.
We're going to find out more about her facial fibroids and risk of pregnancy after this. So thanks, guys, for checking us out on Facebook Live.
Thanks,
of course,
Facebook Livers.
come on over to the
Thank you.
iTunes part. Thank you.
Subscribe.
Yes. So, okay, let's go into that question, because I felt like it was a good question. Maybe we can start off with that, and then we can talk about the pre-pregnancy stuff. So, do you have an answer for that?
I think that actually falls directly into pre-pregnancy concerns, right?
Concern.
Right.
Awesome.
We are finding that there are a lot of women, especially African American women, women of color, who are finding out that they have uterine fibroids. And the reality is, science hasn't really figured out why we have them more than people of other descent. So more than the Caucasian female or more than a Hispanic female.
Is this a new thing?
I think it is.
The increase?
It is an increase, you know, and we haven't figured out why. We don't know if it's the nutrition. We don't know if things, you know, that we're not taking in, if it's a deficiency in vitamins, things like that. What we do know, though, is that if you go to your doctor, because most of the time women with fibroids, you're having heavier cycles, you know, and so, you know, instead of your 3 to 4 day period, you might have 7 days of very heavy bleeding or even longer. You may spot in between your periods. So if you're having things like that, it's better to go get that taken care of prior to planning your pregnancy, because if you do have uterine fibroids, that can be a complication in your pregnancy when you actually get pregnant. So it can create an environment where the baby doesn't have enough room to grow, so you may have a smaller baby. It can cause preterm labor or preterm contraction, so your baby may be born earlier because of uterine fibroids, or it can cause women to even have chances of miscarrying because of those uterine fibroids. So there are options to get treated for the fibroids. There are options to get what we call a fibroidectomy, which means you can preserve your fertility, because the OBGYN is going in and actually just removing a fibroid, so it's not affecting your entire uterus. So you can get the fibroid removed. That way, when you do plan on getting pregnant, then your OBGYN can talk to you about risks that are associated, if they recommend you delivering a little bit earlier, because there still is a scar on your uterus, but it actually will preserve your fertility rather than preventing you from being able to get pregnant.
Wow. I learned something new every day. I saw that cool comment.
This is what I'm thinking, right? this is my like conspiracy theory idea is that so many
The one of many.
yeah. I wouldn't consider myself a conspiracy theorist.
Okay.
However, there's some that I kind of subscribe to.
Are you going to start telling me that you also look at Scientology too?
Well, I mean, I just protect myself from the devil.
Got you.
So, like, I want to, I have to, like, know these things, right? Like, let me tell you how you're not going to get me, right? Like, how you not coming for me, right?
I got my duck and dodge game good.
I got my Mark, my Matthew, my Luke, okay? My John. Like, I'm good, okay?
A mess.
I'm just saying. My point is, is that I feel like there's some things that we have been exposed to as African American females and men as well, but African American females when we're talking about fibroids, and that's why I asked is like, is this a new tick up, right? Mm-hmm. Has there been a tick up in because I have had some doctors that have admitted to them feeling like it's an exposure to something in the African American community that makes us more predisposition to having fertility issues, i.e. fibroids, okay? And the woman who was talking to him was like, I mean, do you think it's connected to relaxers? Period, point blank, relaxers, right? And he was like, I don't know. I just believe that it's something that African American females are being exposed to. Meaning, just like when someone asks me about silver fillings, they're like, are these going to kill me? I'm like, they could. If you're
That's it. You just say they could.
they could.
I'll be like, don't give it to me. I don't want it.
Right. And so I say,
I mean, that's everything, right?
well, no, the reason why I think the reason
this
why I
flu
say
shot kill you?
this, they could.
It could.
So the reason why I say that is because the ADA is never going to come out and say
Yeah.
that silver fillings cause cancer,
Yeah.
right, or cause you to have Alzheimer's or
Yeah.
cause these other things,
Yeah.
right? And so for me to say it will, that's there's no science behind it, but there's also science that may suggest that there could be a link to certain things,
Absolutely.
right? So I think the doctor was kind of doing what I do, like, you know, I'm not going to say yeah because nobody in the relaxer industry is ever going to say yeah,
Yeah.
because then they're going to
That's
have
taking their money.
Right.
right. So I'm just, I mean, you know, I'm not like natural because I'm scared of that. I'm just natural because I got tired of relaxing my hair.
Yeah, I can't do the natural right. But I will say that.
So you
You
just
can
gonna
do
keep
it.
getting the perm.
Oh, for
You can
like-
do it.
Like
You can do it.
My uterus is all jacked up anyway, so I'm just like.
Are you going to ask
whatever.
me to carry your babies?
I mean, if
be
you
the
would like to,
surrogate.
because you actually do it so well, and she glows, and her snapback is like, and I might pay for your surgery, so I don't have to. Girl, let's talk about it. But anyways, when we talk about these things that you should know about pre-pregnancy, fibroids is definitely one thing. Going to the doctor, getting that checked out. What are some of the other things that you feel like people should know on that pre-pregnancy point?
So I definitely recommend getting a routine physical prior to planning your pregnancy.
Now, physical is different from them looking at my vajayjay, right?
It is completely different. So looking at your vajayjay is your well woman exam.
Okay.
Okay. Your routine physical is more looking at your risk associated with your health. So that's when they are truly checking your thyroid. They're testing you for diabetes. Your blood pressure is being checked. Your cholesterol, things like that. So things that can affect you in pregnancy.
Okay.
Because the last thing you want is to go into a pregnancy with a medical condition that makes you high risk, right? So if your thyroid disorder is not under control, don't try to get pregnant because you're just gonna make it hard for you and the doctors that are caring for you. If your A1C for your diabetes is 10, why are you trying? You know, make sure that you have a healthy environment for this baby to come in. Doesn't mean you can't get pregnant. It just means take a couple of months, work on getting your medical condition under control so that when you are pregnant, you have the best chance of having a healthy, happy baby and a normal pregnancy. But if you don't, then you know you're going to have complications, and those complications can happen at any time in the pregnancy. And the last thing we want is for you to have complications, especially since there's this trend of African American women actually having an increased mortality rate, and they actually have an increased rate of premature births. So if that's happening in our own community, don't set yourself up for that. You know, make
Now,
sure that you're setting yourself up
and
to have a successful pregnancy.
I have a question about that, but let me bring whoever wants to do some advertising on the Sphere. Let me give them some information.
Yes.
Okay.
Because, I mean, we're talking about good stuff, so, like, it's a good idea for them to advertise it, right?
Right here.
Right here. Put the
Here
money
comes
here.
your ad right here. This portion of the show is sponsored by The Sphere. Are you starting your business and looking for a place to advertise? Do you have a need to reach out to thousands of people across the world to build your brand or sell your product? If so, get your product placement and advertising needs handled right here at The Sphere. We offer a wide variety of content delivery platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Stitcher. Also, iHeartRadio. I have to plug that.
That's kind of cool, right?
And what? Spreaker. What is Spreaker? I need that.
For the
I need
podcast
that
world.
spelled out.
I heard we're about
Plus-
to get on. What they say we about to try to get on?
iHeart.
Ah, not the other, like the fancy one. Spotify.
Oh, wow.
We got things
Y'all
coming,
are fancy.
people.
I
We have
mean, we
things
need to
coming.
Catch up.
Right.
I just got Facebook and Instagram.
Right.
I thought I was hip.
So we have like all this vast demographic reach because we have all these platforms within the United States as well as modern countries across the globe. The enriched content and inspiring dialogue coupled with your strategic ad is surely to hit the mark every time. Call us today at area code 832-772-7789 or send an email over to advertise@thesphere.tv. So, back to what you were saying.
You had a question.
I did. The idea that there is an increased mortality rate in early and preterm labor. What's the with African American women? What is the connection? What are they tying?
Again, they don't know. And
I hate that answer.
Right. There's been some studies, you
Okay.
know, from the CDC.
Sure.
And Texas actually has a higher mortality rate than other states. We're one of the top, you know, for African American women. But they haven't
We
figured.
have more hospitals though too.
No, I mean, you know, I think in general, you know, we look at the United States as a very developed country, right? So we expect for the United States to be operating just as any other developed country. But when we look at mortality rate among women who are pregnant, that mortality rate actually looks like a developing country rather than a developed country. So we're definitely not anywhere near the top, which is another reason for women to just say, hey, I'm going to take control of my health. I'm going to make sure that I go get checked to make sure that I'm healthy even before I start. Make sure you're taking your prenatal vitamins, because I don't know how many women come in and say, I just can't take them. There are gummies. There's all kinds of things out there so that you can get that nutrition in there. And then just make sure that you're doing everything that you can. Make sure that you're living the healthiest life that you can so that your baby can be healthy when you do have one.
Well, I have so many questions about that.
Well, what prenatal routine are you on? Like, I mean, what were you on before you got?
Before?
Yeah, before.
Or you was just getting it in and
Well,
acting
besides sex. 'Cause-
Did you plan or did you not
So we are. I have not been on birth control in over 5 years. I am not a fan for myself of birth control.
What's your conspiracy behind that?
It's a conspiracy. It is.
What's the conspiracy
It
behind
is.
it? I'm
It is.
curious.
Adding the hormones into your body. I just feel like, yes, although it is blocking you from getting pregnant, the side effects that are associated with hormones, especially for me, was tragic, right? And then, you know, now you have all these commercials every night. If you're up at 1 o'clock like me because you're having acid reflux, it's like, if you've been on Yaz and you have a pseudo cerebri tumor, call us. And I have two friends a patient and a friend that was on Yaz, and now they have these pseudo cerebri tumors, right? And so I'm like,
So that just made you say no birth control.
well,
at all.
but I haven't been on it in over
5
5 years. And so, like, for me, it was more of a conscious choice, whatever, but we stopped not trying, if that makes sense. And so, yeah, I was like, oh, well, that was easy. All my children have been that way, though.
Yeah.
Okay,
Now,
so-
I will
Yeah.
say, though, because I do take care of a lot of teenagers, and I don't want you to stop, you know, trying to
God.
get pregnant, you know. But I will say that there's a lot of women who do birth control, and it doesn't affect your fertility in the future. So you just kind of have to think about what's right for you. Like, you and your
Absolutely.
husband, y'all are married, you have a family.
If she
But
has
from
a baby, it's
yeah,
not a problem.
yeah. But for
Right.
my younger patients who are saying, you know what, I really don't want to get pregnant, there are a lot of options out there. So
Yeah.
just make sure that you talk to your provider about it, and it won't necessarily affect your fertility in the future, because Lord knows I have many patients who are like, I stopped my birth control 2 months ago, and they come in and they have a pregnancy
pregnant.
test
Absolutely.
already. So it
Absolutely.
just depends on the person.
Well, and I mean, I know there's also like non-hormonal ways to prevent pregnancy, and that would probably be if I ever chose to get back onto birth control, which I'm
Yeah.
not, because my husband's getting a vasectomy. Just in case you didn't know. But I have dealt with hypertension since I was like 28,
Okay.
like fluctuating off and on, and it is a genetic link. Like my dad but prior to him having spondylolisthesis of his lower spine, he would run like 30 miles a week. So my dad's super healthy, but deals with hypertension, right? And so just as a strong lineage of it. And so I got officially put on like hypertensive meds last year. And right before I had lost like, 28 pounds, something ridiculous.
She was looking.
I was
weird.
fine.
I mean, for real.
I was fine.
She's still cute though. Pregnant.
Thanks, boo. Thanks, but I'm not. I'm glad that I was actually 28 pounds lighter. I changed my diet. I had gone from like eating a whole slew of meat to
French fries at Whataburger.
French fries at Whataburger. Yeah, I turned into like a
healthy diet.
pescatarian. Yeah,
Healthy diet.
and so I was a vegan, and then I went to more pescatarian route. And for me, I also work out intensely. I'm not doing it right now because I'm just too tired. But I was doing HIIT workouts and things like that. And so I would consider my prenatal lifestyle to be fairly healthy. I don't drink heavy. Of course, I don't smoke. And so like I don't have too many risk factors that aren't like maybe genetically tied to before me getting pregnant.
Well, what is like a prenatal like cocktail? Like what's your routine or like your regimen that you recommend for your patients?
So in general, I say eat healthy. Okay, be active, meaning exercise. Because a lot of people, they say, well, I'm pregnant, I'm carrying two. They want to lay on the couch. They want people to come bring them food, and they're not really moving and active and that kind of thing. And then start your prenatal vitamins. You can start that before you even try to get pregnant. If you know you want to get pregnant in the future, go ahead and start taking that. Make sure you have folic acid as part of your prenatal vitamin regimen. And people always ask me, like, what's the best prenatal vitamin? In general, they all have the same thing in it. Some may have a little extra iron, a little extra folic acid. And if you had a baby that had like a neural tube defect, like somebody born with spinal bifida, things like that, which is pretty rare, but if that's the case, then we would prescribe more folic acid for that mom for her next, prenatal visit. But that's the reason that you go to your family doctor or your OBGYN or the nurse midwife, whoever is following you, and ask them what their recommendations are.
Yeah. Cool. So we've talked about some pre health risks and concerns, fibroids, of course, hypertension, diabetes, thyroid. We're going to break this down by trimester.
Okay.
Right? Like, so there's our first trimester where everyone's always freaked out because you're like, oh my God, you can't see the baby, you can't hear the baby, you can't feel the baby, right? And then they tell you not to tell anybody, right? So you're like walking around with this secret. And then second trimester, they're like, you're in the clear, see you later.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then third trimester comes and you start feeling like shit.
For glowing shit.
It glows, but it's still shit. And so my question to you would be, let's just go trimester, because I would really appreciate for people to hear the risks that are truly associated with trimester. I stopped working out probably 4 weeks ago. And it was only because like I'm actually, it's very interesting, I'm carrying extra fluid. So I see of course my OB, but also see my OBGYN, but also see a perinatal specialist that I've seen for both my last 2 pregnancies. And she thought I was diabetic from my scan from about 6 weeks ago.
Because of the increased fluid.
Because of the fluid. And so I did my 3-hour glucose, and I'm like passing like I was like,
Flying
oh well,
colors.
whatever. I'm diabetic. It is what it is. I failed my 1 hour because I walked in drinking a sweet tea and didn't realize it was my 1 hour glucose. And then I was like, oh man, I'm gonna fail it. And I failed it bad. I mean bad, like one of those scores you don't tell anybody. Yeah. And yeah, and then I was like, okay, 3 hour, I'm gonna fail it because I had the screen, and I don't. And so now they're contributing the fact that I have gone more vegan, vegetarian life. So I'm eating significantly less protein to why I'm carrying the fluid. So my uterus is very, very, very heavy.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
I've gained like 35 pounds, but it's all belly.
Well, that's good then. That means when the baby comes out.
Absolutely.
It's like,
I need to be like, bam, 28,
Beyonce.
done. Yeah, what?
Like in a
Man,
week.
I can't wait. I can't wait. So that's interesting to me because I would have never thought by this trimester, with all my testing, that I'm now still they're still worried,
Risk
right?
factors.
So that's
yeah.
why it's like, I want people to hear first
What are
trimester is
risks?
this, second trimester is this,
Yeah.
third trimester
Yeah.
is this. So first trimester,
Yeah.
hit it.
So first trimester, things that people worry about is usually like vaginal bleeding. That's the biggest thing that people are going to present with, because you end up having, you know, a risk of miscarriage. That's kind of the stigma of why people don't actually tell people when they're pregnant, because a lot of women will have this bleeding, and some people don't even know they're pregnant. They end up having like what they quote a heavy period, never took a pregnancy test, but it could have actually been a miscarriage. And so because of that, we worry about vaginal bleeding in pregnancy, and especially in your first trimester. So we always tell people, go in if you're having bleeding. Like, you should never sit at home and be like, oh, it's just
how much
spotting.
is too much? Yeah,
Any of
too
it,
much?
because it
Any
depends on
bleeding.
where your placenta is, right? So your placenta is the, you know, thing that gives like the baby nutrition and the blood flow and that kind of thing. So if you are having spotting, let's say your placenta is in a different location, then the bleeding could be behind the placenta, so it may not just all flow out. Right?
Gotcha.
Or if your placenta is far away from your cervix, and you know, you could have the same amount of bleeding, but you could see a whole lot of blood. So we tell people, anytime you're bleeding, whether it's spotting or whether it's like a period, always go in and get checked, because that's not something to sit on. That's one of the biggest things that we think about. The other things that we look at is we do testing to check your blood pressure the first time you come in, because there's chronic hypertension, and then there's hypertension in pregnancy that we'll talk about with third trimester stuff. Okay. And chronic hypertension is somebody who had high blood pressure prior to being pregnant at their 20-week stage. So if you're pregnant or blood pressure was high anywhere from the time you walked in the door up until 20 weeks pregnant, then we call you chronic hypertension, and you're considered high risk. Other things that we tell people to look at is vaginal discharge, right? Because you never know if you have an infection or what is going on. Sometimes there's a normal vaginal discharge in pregnancy, it's just normal, doesn't have a smell, doesn't have an odor, doesn't itch, doesn't, you know, nothing else comes along with it. It's just a normal vaginal discharge. But other times it's a yeast infection, it's infections like chlamydia, gonorrhea that you need to be checked for. So always talk to your doctor about things like that.
Okay,
I
cool.
actually had a subchorionic hemorrhage. And my friend, who's like, we're due days apart from each other, she had the same thing, but hers bled and mine didn't.
And see, that's the thing, because where your placenta is, that's what I was talking about. It can bleed behind it, and so you don't see it, and that's what the subchorionic hemorrhage is.
All right, so this portion of the show is actually sponsored by KOG and Company. Are your unique gifts and talents changing the world? Unleash Your Dopeness is a people empowerment movement built to encourage the masses to operate outside of their fears and have the gall to recklessly pursue their dreams and passions in life. Join thousands of others as we unlock the greatness that dwells inside. Shop dope gear at KOGpassion.com. That's KOGpassion.com, and use coupon code DOPE with an exclamation point for 10% off exclusive Unleash Your Dopeness apparel. Act now. Sizes are selling out fast. Well,
So we're going into second trimester.
we are.
Let's go. So second trimester is usually when
I'm
patients
feeling very FOMO.
people are feeling like, I'm good now. I've got my stride going. I'm not
Yeah.
having morning sickness anymore. I'm
Yeah.
looking kind of cute now. I can get the little pictures.
They get the
We're-
little bump.
Yeah, we're doing the little bump things and the selfies and like the little chalkboards.
Yeah.
But what are some of the things that pregnant women have to deal with in the second trimester? And then also too, I'm always wondering, like from an X-ray standpoint, patients are like extremely like, oh my God, no. I'm like, all right, it's cool. Like it's not even as serious. But like, what are some of the things that they can and cannot do during their second trimester? Jay-Z concert is probably appropriate then, probably not appropriate the week that you're about to have a baby. But we'll get into that. Continue.
So second
2
trimester,
weeks.
I kind of tell people do what you do, which basically is if you were doing these things prior to getting pregnant, like exercising, you know, that kind of thing, then continue to do that. So
Well,
it's
if you
not
had not been exercising.
now if you had not, don't go run a marathon, like because something gonna happen, you know. You
Don't
might
start
pass
trying to
out,
you may
things like
faint.
that. Yeah.
You may
So don't
faint.
just all of a sudden decide I'm pregnant, so I'm gonna start doing things that I've never done, you know, in the past. But just make sure that you're eating healthy as well, taking care of yourself. But the things that we worry about in second trimester, like you were talking about your glucose tolerance test. So we do that in the second trimester, right? And so you go in, you drink this stuff that doesn't really taste that good, like a flat soda that's kind of been sitting there for a while, and then we measure what your blood sugar is at that point. Well, if you don't pass that one, you get a
drink a sweet
second
tea when you come
because
into
you
your
drank a
appointment.
sweet tea. You get a
I
second.
forgot.
And like she's probably the worst patient,
Right.
but I'm
I am the worst patient.
So that's strike one. But you do get a second chance.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I was like, just
redemption.
go ahead and run me that 3 hour.
Right.
Like,
Right. So you get to do the 3-hour test. And then we base you having gestational diabetes, which is diabetes in pregnancy, on that 3-hour test, not necessarily the 1-hour test. At that time, you also get your vaccine. So we start looking at your flu vaccine if you're pregnant during flu season. We look at your Tdap vaccine, and it's more so for pertussis protection for the baby. So we call it like herd immunity. So what we do is we try to give everybody else the vaccination that is going to be around the baby. And normally that mommy is going to be breastfeeding, the baby's going to be really close. So if mommy gets a cough, we don't want her to pass the infection on to baby because the baby doesn't have any immunizations when the baby first comes out. You know, like your first set is usually at 2 months. So you're not going to get immunized for pertussis prior to that.
Gotcha.
So we do things like that. Women also have a lot of sciatica or round ligament pain, and that's where you're having like lower belly pain because those ligaments are stretching. They start to do the little waddle.
That
you
waddle
know,
is adorable.
it is.
You got
but
it down,
for
girl.
some women, right? It's painful. You know, like
It's
a lot of
just such a cute thing, but I
It
mean,
is.
I'm
the
sure it's
waddling's not
comfortable.
on purpose. Like, I'm not in this like trying to make this into a runway walk. At this point, it's mandatory because my hips feel like they don't want to be part of this life anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a lot of pain, and there's not a lot you can take in pregnancy, you know? So don't go get the, goodies powder over the counter and start popping that because you having pain that you
The
could have.
what?
Goodies powder.
What is that?
Like
Aspirin?
What?
God, you are
Your people
so
don't use
special.
goodies powder.
Girl, she
Is
real.
that-
She
is
bougie.
that,
Remember,
like,
she was forced to go to
nah,
Xavier.
I was-
Remember?
So let me just say ibuprofen, naproxen,
Oh.
Aleve,
You
goodies
call
powder.
it goodies powder?
No,
There's- it's a name
It's
brand.
a brand.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah, so it's in the area with the ibuprofen.
But I
Aleve,
just found
you
out
know.
about what is that stuff that's like in a powder form that you take when you have a hangover or something like that.
It's called
B-tap, something.
BC.
BC powder.
BC powder. It's
I
the
just heard about
same-
that last
Yeah,
year.
it's the
I
same.
never even
It's
heard
the same
of
thing. You
that.
just
Yeah.
eat it. Like,
Yeah.
just go ahead and do that and go to
Yeah.
bed.
Got it. So you can't be doing that in second
Can't do that.
pregnancy.
You can
Second.
do Tylenol, but you
Okay.
cannot do anything else. So you go to your doctor and ask if you can take anything else over the counter. What else in second trimester? So we talked about diabetes. You can still
How
have
much is sex?
bleeding.
You can have sex a lot,
You
right?
you can have sex when you're pregnant. The only time we tell women not to is again when we're worried about that placenta laying pretty low. So if a woman came in with a low lying placenta, she was having vaginal bleeding in the first trimester, we're telling you to be careful.
Yep. I was on vaginal rest for my first until that hemorrhage cleared.
Yeah.
Husband was pissed.
And I couldn't work out, and it was
Yeah.
rough. I mean, but it's kind of it's scary. So you kind of don't even think about yourself really because it's
Right.
like
I'm carrying
you
a
know,
child.
right? And he's like, you're carrying my child, so it's like I don't
cool
want
on that.
right. Like we
Yeah.
just gonna have to go to bed. I'm always like, catch this iPad, catch. Like, right. No, girl, the lotion. I'm like, don't use the good stuff, please.
I can't. Look at me going to third trimester. Like, let's move this along.
So have you had any issues third trimester?
So the only issue that I'm having now, like I said, is the extra fluid. That's the only thing I'm having. And so the concern right now is because it seems like right now it's idiopathic, meaning they don't know why. And so I'm now decreasing my carb, which has been very hard to do because after you remove all that meat out of your diet, it's very hard to start consuming it again.
Yeah.
And so we're going to see, I see my perinatal specialist on Tuesday, Dr. Hare. I don't know if you've heard of Dr. Joanne Hare. She's down, Joni Hare. She's down in Houston. So, but she's great. Another African-American female doctor. And Dr. Wanda Mott is my OBGYN, another African-American female. One time for all the African-American female doctors, not only at this table, but in the world. And so the idea is that she's going to check me out to see if I have any more fluid that has gone away, because the concern would be being forced into going into early labor because my uterus is like, I can't grow anymore.
Right.
And it'll be like, gotta deflate.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And fluid is really important. I have a patient right now who's actually the opposite. She doesn't have enough fluid around. And so we had to do testing to kind of figure out why that is too. So a lot of times
What
if
was
you're
the reason?
Well, for her, she's just dehydrated. So she wasn't taking in enough fluid. And this was kind of throughout the pregnancy. We have lots of times where we like seeing ketones. She comes in, you know, how you
Okay.
pee in a little
Yeah.
cup when you
Yeah,
come
yeah,
to the doctor's
yeah.
office, and she's always dehydrated. And I'm like, what are you drinking? She not really
Nothing.
much, not
Okay.
even a full bottle of water.
Okay.
So, and it's funny because once we actually kept pushing her, and like, you have to drink, like, not even just one bottle of water. Like, I need you to hit 4 or 5 bottles of water. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, her fluid level came back up.
Yeah,
you
so
know?
this,
it's all
is just
based
a
on
little.
the patient.
Yeah, I know you're not big into apps or whatever, but there's this app called My Water that I use, and it's like an encouraging app, and actually reminds you to drink water all day.
Okay. Well,
So
I'm gonna
just
have
for
to
your
tell
patients-
her to do that.
Yeah, any of your patients that you're like, hey, you are having an issue with drinking water, download My Water, and it's free, and it literally like it sets an interval, and if you're not putting in your water, it says drink more water.
Yeah.
And you put in water, and
Yeah.
so like I've hit like my goals. You have to be-
Water?
for water, yeah, because
Yeah.
I don't really like water like that.
I think when
Yeah.
you start drinking more water, that you acquire, like you want it more. Like, I
Acquire
know
the
for me,
taste,
I'm
yeah.
like, oh yeah, afterwards, but
And
I
your
know.
body can tell
Right.
when you haven't
Yeah.
had.
I feel like you can even feel it in your muscles. Like I feel like, well, duh. So, well, cool. So we've gotten the
Yes,
first,
doctor.
second, and third. I know, right? Only on Monday through
The other
Friday,
thing
so
I was
hours
gonna
at
say
9 to
about-
5.
Are you
Yeah.
off? Are you
I'm
off?
already off.
The other thing I was going to say about third trimester is that's when women start worrying about if they're going to go into labor early. So, you know, make sure that you're looking at your contraction pattern, you know, in your third trimester.
Have you already started having them? What?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you had them before?
You can have what we call Braxton Hicks or
I've
false
heard that
labor.
word.
So Braxton Hicks contractions are when you start contracting, but it's not regularly. So it's not going to be enough to make your cervix start opening up and to make you go into labor. So you might have a contraction here and there. Might be an hour later, 15 minutes later, and
It's like continuously.
it might last maybe for an hour, 2 hours. It'll go away. It might be it'll be irregular. And
Very
that's basically
irregular,
irregular.
but they hurt.
Yeah,
They
and they
hurt.
feel like real contractions. But if you're going into labor, it's not going to be like for an hour and that's it. You know what I mean? Like it takes a while for your cervix to open up and have a baby.
Gotcha.
So your real labor is when you're contracting like every 5 to 7 minutes, and it's lasted for over an hour to 2 hours. So that's when you start going. Or if your water breaks. Like I've had people who they were like, well, I wasn't having contractions, so I didn't come in. But your water broke. So sometimes you actually break your water before the contractions start. Sometimes the contractions start before the
and the
water
water
breaks.
breaks.
So sometimes women look at it as like both simultaneously happening because, you know, we see this on TV and it's so
Right.
dramatic and all these movies, but it may not happen that way for all women.
I mean, this is why I love the show, even for my own self, because I'm like, there's a lot of things that I just like, what? Like now I know about some goodies, something, and you know, I gotta know, like you don't have to have the water breaking before the contractions and vice versa. So I didn't even know that, so that's really cool.
So either or, you're going to the hospital. Your water breaks, you have contractions, vaginal bleeding, or you start having symptoms of high blood pressure. And women, you know, they're not at home if you're pregnant. You don't have just a blood pressure cuff laying around and randomly checking it, right?
do.
Oh, well,
That's only because I'm hypertensive.
okay. You're right.
Right.
So yeah,
And then I
you
have, like,
to check
4 at my
yours.
practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you just be taking your blood pressure, just like
Yeah.
I did,
But
right?
the average woman does not.
No,
Right.
the average woman doesn't. Exactly.
And so things that she can
If
look
you want to
out
be above
for-
average, guys, get a blood pressure.
Get a
cuff.
blood pressure cuff.
And then
Well,
you'll be
and
like
I
a
personally-
unicorn.
I
No, you're
personally
great.
think that people should have a blood pressure cuff.
Oh, I agree. I
because
agree.
when they come into the practice and they come in and they're 178 over 102, and
Yeah.
I'm like,
I can't do anything.
I think like a blood
for
pressure
you.
cuff and a
Yeah.
fire extinguisher.
like
Yeah.
what?
Important.
Yeah.
Those should be like life skills.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
let's learn how to do this. I
Yeah.
just think that they're that they can be invaluable because. Hypertension alone, except when it turns into preeclampsia, because there are clear signs of that. However, but hypertension on just a non-pregnant person is a silent killer.
Yeah.
So people should check their blood pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
just a little pub for blood pressure.
Yeah.
One time.
I agree. I definitely agree
Thanks,
with
doctor.
that. I agree. But when it comes to how do you know if your blood pressure is high at home or if you're developing preeclampsia, which you mentioned, then there are things like headaches that won't go away with Tylenol that are just severe and they stay, and they're not like a headache that you normally have. There's changes in your vision. So some women actually won't be able to see out of one side or won't be able to see out of their eyes in general, or they start seeing double. That's a complete difference. Some women have constant pain on the right side of their upper belly, and it's because their liver is being affected, because that can happen in preeclampsia. So there's a lot of symptoms that you can have, while at home. So I always tell women, if you don't feel good, come in, because it's better for you to come in us check check you and say, hey, everything's okay, you're okay, the baby's okay, than for you to sit at home and something happens because you didn't come in because your blood pressure was elevated.
Sure.
And the worst thing that can happen, you know, with preeclampsia is women tend to have seizures and sometimes even death. So when we talked about those increased rates and things like that, because actually minority women are more at risk for preeclampsia.
Like not
Right.
today.
Yeah.
Like why are we just not winning in life today?
I'm
We're
trying-
winning, but you know, it's just that our risks are
Conspiracy theory.
What is this one for preeclampsia?
Well, no, I mean this.
I think that when we eat all of the bacon,
It's just a perfect. It's a perfect time to interject conspiracy theory because
agree.
realistically, this is the issue that happens. Women in general, we walk around kind of feeling like I'm always tired. Like that's just kind of especially.
I'm always tired too, but I don't know why. Like I feel like seriously, I'm always tired.
Well, we need to get that checked out, doctor.
Well, I mean, really, can I'm always tired.
Yeah, you should probably could get some
guess
blood
so.
work
I'm like,
done.
I'm really
when was your
tired.
last not woman's, but your physical?
There's somebody always there in
Where's-
the female area.
where's-
I feel like I'm
where's-
always at the doctor.
But
Like
your
it.
Not female, your physical.
You know what? Actually, I don't know, doc.
Okay, yeah, I have a doctor for you, so I'll be giving you her information.
I need to do that.
Absolutely.
And
So I think that
Right.
part of the
duh. I mean, I know. I mean, I had a lot going on last year.
Can you not?
Okay, so we won't
Yeah.
go there.
So
But anyway,
so let's not have excuses. So
can I eat this cookie while we're talking? I'm so hungry. I know, I'm
So part of the thing I think is that we walk around and we kind of feel tired or drained or whatever all the time, and we blame it on just being like moms and dads and husbands and work and these kids. Like these are the things that we blame it on, right? But in reality, it could be something
medical
going
condition,
on.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so something like when my blood pressure spikes up, I'll be like, oh man, I'll feel good. And Ricky's like, did you take your blood pressure? And I'll take it. And I'll be like, yeah, it's a little high. But it'll go down. But my point is like things like that, we tend to kind of.
Yeah, and women do because women tend to carry a lot on their plate, you know. So you're
say that.
mommies, you have jobs, you have careers, and then we are nurturers in general. So
Right.
you tend to take care of everybody around you before
You take care of
yourself.
yourself.
So
Absolutely.
it's really important for us to say, I'm going to take care. I got to do some self care too. I got to make sure I'm okay because if I'm not, then everybody around me is not going to be okay either.
I agree.
So, Dr. Coulter, that I love the way that we ended on that note because I do think that women, regardless, pretty much the point of this conversation is regardless if you're pregnant or not, you should be taking care of yourself.
Yes.
Finding out if there's something going on with you, preparing your body for having a baby if and when you're ready, and then when you're pregnant, knowing
These are
how
the
to do
things.
these, knowing how to do this. This should not be like an all of a sudden change of lifestyle. So please, if you could once again tell people who you are, where they can find you, and any contact information.
Okay, so I am Dr. Tuere Coulter. I am at University of Texas Medical Branch, or UTMB for short, down in Galveston, and I see patients in Dickinson as well. And then you can always follow me on social media at Dr. 2 Health Tips, and that is both on Facebook and Instagram, and I'll let y'all know when I get all these other things that y'all got.
we proud of you for effort. I love it. Well, I guess I'm signing off. So I am super happy to be back here again. Please make sure you guys check us back out next week on the docs. We are on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, you name it. iHeart, everything. But of course, you can follow me on Facebook at Simone Ellis, at Dr. Simone Ellis on Instagram.com. And my office is Smile Design Studios. We just got up to like 80 reviews online, and I'm just super excited about my office. So shout out to that. And come see us out. I love you guys to have some dental work. I'm sorry, my nose is running. So go ahead, Chandra, take it from here.
I don't understand. I need to get some of my sores in here. This is so.
Oh, and she's an AKA.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I just did it. I just did it.
I think I.
So where can we find you, Dr. Chandra Batiste?
Not there.
Okay.
One shout out, just real quietly, for all my sores of Delta Sigma Theta, as that AK is making that noise. Delta would never. And she has like snot coming. That is not becoming. You're gonna make me.
I hate you.
You're actually
I'm
gonna.
sorry,
make me. I
guys.
need
I'm
you to-
sick, but next week will be a difference.
I'm
but-
gonna need you- right here, please. I'm gonna actually vomit. Please. No, I have to close out. Can you not? Oh my God. Thank you
Where can we
again
find
for
you
joining
guys?
us.
The tomfoolery is real.
That was real.
I'm sorry. Is it
God.
gone?
I don't
gone.
know.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us and Simone Snot for this episode of the Docs on the Sphere Network. Please subscribe and please shoot us all questions and concerns. And I'm definitely concerned about Simone Snot. And you can find me if you want a dentist, need a dentist at Elite Dental Wellness, which is located on the corner of Fondren and Westheimer. You can call me at 713-789-8680. Or if you'd like to follow me on Instagram, it's at hotdoc.com or Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, Snapchat, Ashandra Batiste. Thank you so much for joining us today. We will see y'all next week. Peace
Bye, guys.
out.
Bye.